here, because while we do have this upward sloping trend line that I've drawn in, it's a bit of a messy pattern. And we do have a horizontal level here. Yes, we've broken below it slightly, but not closed below. And then since then it has acted as support. So really I had two levels to break. I had my triangle and I had this horizontal level to break. And that was what we were looking at in yesterday's show. And what I was ideally looking out for was a break below this level and then a retracement, a lower high, and an opportunity to get in. And that happened actually a couple of times yesterday. Let me just grab the little pencil. So we had a break below that level, followed by price coming back up. That's no good to me, because not only does it give me a higher high there, but it is above my horizontal level. So that could just be another rejection of that level there. What then happened, however, was price coming decisively down, bearish engulfing bar there, decisively down. And then the next retest is actually exactly at this level. Not only that, but just get rid of some of my scribblings there. Actually, a pretty nice sized small high test bar on that one. So that could have been an entry opportunity. If not, then that is the next fully bearish signal. We've got another little retracement, pretty indecisive bars here. Then we've got a decisive bearish bar and away price goes. The nice thing about this is it's broken below this low here now. So if that price comes to retrace, I'd be looking for a lower high. It could come up to around this area here, where we've got these previous lows. Let me just mark that in more clearly. So around this area here, if I get a retracement up to that level, then I will definitely be interested in trading short. That retracement doesn't have to go all the way up to that level. Basically, at this stage, I would be happy with any lower high, and I would still be happy to trade gold short. So even if price just comes up here and then turns around, I would be looking for any kind of price action along there. The important thing is to monitor the next levels of support and resistance. Now, just checking on the monthly time frame, we've got some support over here from the previous high from back in 2011. The next level down here is a long way off. So in terms of support, there's not that much, and we're already through that previous high. So from the monthly time frame, that previous high, that level around there, that's the level that we've already now broken through. So we don't have to worry about that. The next level below us is this one down here. That's really where I'm aiming towards now. If we look at the monthly time frame, if we can just take out the low of last month's bar, then and that would pretty much be here, then I'm happy to run this trade all the way down to this next level. So there is plenty of potential reward to risk in trading gold on the lower time frames at the moment. If we just have a look at that roadmap on the hourly, this is what it looks like. So this is my next level of potential support. I'd be looking to trade down to that level. I would then be looking to trade past that level. And what that might mean is I could be in a free trade by then. If I enter a trade here and trade down to here, I would scale out at this level. And that would mean that my trade would then be free. I would expect that to be at least a 3-to-1 reward to risk, if not more, down to that level. So that would then be a free trade. I can leave part of the position on, and then I can look for another retracement there, get into another trade, and hopefully run it all the way down to the bottom there. So that's my plan now with gold at the moment. Obviously, anything can change at any time. We'll have to be aware of the fundamentals on gold as well. Very, very driven by fundamentals. But at the moment, just looking at the technicals, that is my plan. Things that I was talking about last week that have changed, I'll just point out Aussie dollar. I'm now out of my Aussie dollar trades. You can see very clearly here that I have a lower high and now a lower low. So really, what that means is I'm no longer trading this on the daily time frame, but I am looking for shorts on the intraday time frames, because
Bit of a
that
crash,
might.
eh?
Yeah, exactly. And we had it coming, didn't we, Jeff? That trend has gone on for
Yep.
absolutely ages. And I have said all along, I'm going to trade this trend until I see a technical reason not to. And for me, a technical reason not to is a clear lower high and lower low on the daily time frame. That is the end of the uptrend. And you know, who knows, this might come all the way down to here, or it might just start to range. Who knows what might happen? But what I can tell you is I'm not trading this long, and the best probability of success at the moment is to trade this short on the lower time frames. So if I were to go down to the hourly, for example, really nice cyclicity there. For sure, there'll be some opportunities to trade that to the downside. So that's a bit of a change on the Aussie dollar. It's also happened on the Kiwi dollar, just breaking to a lower low here. We haven't yet had a lower high, but what this shows is, you know, you can be a little bit flexible about your price action analysis. This is not a lower high because actually the spike of this bar comes up slightly higher, but we can just see from looking at this that the trend has slowed here. We got a rejection, a high test bar at this point, a big bearish bar down here, break below the monthly pivot, now breaking below this low. Whether or not this is a higher high or a lower high, that is now the end of that uptrend for me. Definitely not interested in looking for longs, only interested in looking for shorts, and just need to be aware of any levels of potential support and resistance. So this level here, I'm just going to be a little bit cautious about that. Once we're through there, I'll definitely be looking for shorts on Kiwi dollar as well. And the last things that I wanted to point out, in fact, probably I'll just stick to the NASDAQ, just because I was looking at this with Orlando yesterday as well. And we were looking at this to the upside potentially. Let's go to the daily just to see here. We've got this pretty strong horizontal level here on the daily. Price has bounced pretty strongly from that level with this low test bar. And since then, we've actually seen a bullish pattern. So this is the head and shoulders pattern. Left hand shoulder there, head down there, right hand shoulder there. You can see where I've drawn in the neckline. We've actually, it's become more messy than I would have liked, because price yesterday has broken through that neckline. It's come back down to retest, and that, if I can just make that a little bit bigger. That was my long entry. And since then, price has actually come down a bit and then back up a bit. So the price action that we've seen here is messier than I would have liked to trade this head and shoulders pattern. However, I am still currently bullish, and I will still continue to look for long opportunities up to this next level of potential resistance. So that's my outlook, certainly in the short term on the NASDAQ. Of course, we could see still a lower high on the daily, bearing in mind that this daily time frame has shown us lower highs and lower lows. So at this horizontal level, this next horizontal level here that I've drawn in, that could very easily form another lower high, and price could turn around to the downside. So it's all about being flexible at the moment. That's pretty much what my trading's about, Jeff, at the moment, because the trends that we have seen over the last few months are coming to an end. We have to accept that. And so really my trading at the moment is about finding chart patterns and price action patterns and trading those in the short term, not necessarily taking a very long-term view. If I get long into the NASDAQ, I'm not expecting to hold that for months like I was previously. It's literally just lower time frame trading, holding it until I can get a good profit, scale out, and eventually perhaps change my direction again as price follows its course. So that's pretty much what I'm looking at for today, Jeff.
Yep. Cheers, Chloe. I've noticed the trends have just had a little bit of a turnaround. Of course, we've been able to take advantage of that as slingshot traders, going quite okay on quite a few of them. How are you getting on with the Big O? How's that show going?
Yeah, really well, thanks.
You guys striking up a nice little trading relationship?
Yeah, really, really good. We find ourselves agreeing more often than not, which is nice. Agreeing on direction, anyway.
That's no fun, Chloe.
It's no fun, is it, Jeff? It's fun. It's fun for us.
As long as you're making money out of it, it doesn't matter, of course.
Well, exactly. But we look at different markets very often. So, you know, we agree with each other on our analysis on what we're looking at, but he's very often trading different markets to me. So it's always great to see what he's got for the day and follow along with that. Yeah.
Okay, and that show, of course, is a couple of hours away. What time is it? 7:45 now?
It is 7:45 on a Tuesday and a Wednesday. So it was yesterday and it will be today.
Cool. Okay,
we've scaled it back slightly, obviously to make space for other shows that we've got plenty of other shows. Online as well. And partly because I'm just scaling back a little bit, Jeff, in preparation. I don't want to go cold turkey, you see. I don't want to suddenly stop and feel left out. So I have to wind down gradually.
My goodness, I can't wait to see the photos. What's the date again?
The due date? End of October.
Okay, so November, baby.
Pretty much 1 month left now.
If you could hang on another 3 weeks after that, you'd coincide with my birthday.
Well, I got
a funny feeling you might be looking forward to
that. I don't think I would enjoy that.
No, I don't think you would either. All righty. I'll probably catch up with you guys a little bit later in your show, and thank you so much for contributing to this one. We will see you very, very shortly. Thanks,
Chloe. See you shortly, Jeff. Cheers. Enjoy the day.
I'll do my best. It can only get better, actually, given the technology issues.
That's the good thing about starting off the day badly. It can.
Yes, that's the only good thing about starting off the day badly. But yes, I agree. All right, ciao, mate.
All right, cheers.
Rightio. Those of you who were trying to watch this show earlier, and I've got no idea, frankly, who was in, who was out, who couldn't watch, and etc., etc. I do apologise for the technical issues. One wasn't a technical issue; it was a human error issue, and that was that I didn't open my microphone. Sorry, so sorry. Anyway, what I was trying to say was all of those things. The OCO breakout trade, which is now set at these levels. The buy is at 1.2728. The stop loss for that's one. Well, I don't need to read that, do I? You guys can read. Yeah. Sanjay, NASDAQ and US dollar are opposite. Oh, don't ask me that question. I've got no idea about indices. Sanjay, it's just something I don't do. So I'm gonna not answer that. Well, I'm going to answer it with a don't know. Do I think euro US dollar? Now you're talking. This is from Sino, and euro CAD will move from the bottom from the range back to the top. Euro dollar and CAD. Euro dollar is an interesting phenomenon. There's no question about that, because mainly it's got those other three letters in it, US dollar. And that is, look, you've got to be prepared to think that is now going to higher levels. And I see very much that is a distinct possibility. And I did show the the dollar index chart a little bit earlier. Those, and I'm sure you guys are across this anyway. You probably don't need me to point it out to you, but I will. You can see that it's broken through the trend line. You can see that it's broken through the range, which is there. Barely, I've got to say, barely the range, but it has. The question mark, of course, now is how far and how far before pullback. I like pullbacks, as you probably are aware. That pullback probably comes in here somewhere, I would imagine, but maybe even back to the trade line. Who knows? I can't answer that question. The one thing I can say to you with confidence is I can't trust the US dollar. That's the one thing I can say, and that's why I've been avoiding it for such a long time. As I said earlier, probably when I was muted, I only look at the moment to, well, I'm kind of weaning myself back onto it. I'm looking to trade one pair that has US dollar in it at the moment per week. So that's a little, I don't know, discipline thing that I've put myself on. This week it is dollar yen. And are we still in that? That's a good question. We're still in that. Our stop loss is here at 105.28, I think, as I've got it. We can't lose on this, but we haven't taken a lot off the table either. And if we do lose our stop loss here, it will be pretty much a non-event, just about break even, a little bit better. But that is really a question that I find very, very difficult to answer. But let's do it from a technical point of view, and that, of course, is how we must. And really, it's impossible not to think that this is now broken the support level and certainly the bottom of the rectangle. We would not be surprised at this, would we, guys? Because what have we been flagging for some time? One little, two little, three little Indians. Very, 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 very much a signal that this is going to break to the short side, the rectangle that is, or the range. And that has been the case. Now, the question mark is always there. And I find most often that will go to a support level, the breakout will go to a support level, and then turn around straight away. So I'm not writing this off by any stretch in terms of a bull run or a return to trend. But what I am very mindful of is where is the support level? And really, I can't see it until there. Let's have a look at the bigger picture. And that shows you how strong that level is. 114, it's 115 really, 115 the figure. We could trade this with a pullback because we have had that breakout, and it looks like a false break of the bigger picture trend line, which of course is that one. And that's how we do what we do. We wait for them to come back and then retest it, and then we look to play them in the opposite direction. So that's firmly on my mind. But as far as trading it now is concerned, I don't actually see it. Now, that's not impossible, however, because we did trade euro yen like this last week, if you recall, and I'll show you that in a minute. But I don't see the actual entry. There's maybe on the 4-hour chart it was there. So you're looking at that trade line, break and retest. Totally get that. Potential entry there for you just before you opened your eyes yesterday. Untested daily pivot would really scare me from that. I wouldn't like to do that. The screen froze from Angel. My screen? Oh, I'm sorry, man. I'm having a shocker, aren't I? Really having a shocker. There we go. Thank you, sweet. Thank you, Angel. Sorry. Oh, dear. Thank you, LT. Thank you, Sanjay. What a day. Should I have got out of bed this morning? Actually, I've had a very busy day in the bamboo, so yes, I should have. So there was the potential for the entry. Would I have taken that? No, because an untested daily pivot would prevent me from doing it. The only other way that I see that as a possible entry from a slingshot point of view is as a dominant break of a trade line. And that's what we traded last week on Euro Yen. Let me turn the clock back. There's Euro Yen that we traded last week. Bang. It is a little bit different. And the reason it's a little bit different is because did that actually break the trade line? Well, it did, I suppose. Yeah. Okay, I can't argue against that. So if you wanted to take that trade, it's probably there. It's not as good as Euro Yen, in my humble opinion, because Euro Yen, if I'll flick charts again, take a mental picture of that, and then look at Euro Yen. The candle started above the trend line and, well, significantly above the trend line and broke it. This current situation, only just above the trend line and then broke it. So, in fact, if I make that accurate, the trend line really belongs there. So it really didn't break the trend line. And that's a subtle difference, but it is a difference. Anyway, as I said before, this is a long drawn out answer, and I do apologize for that. But of course, you didn't have my chart. So yes, I'm a bear, no question. A bit risky to go in there, in my humble opinion. But if that is your desire, then and you find a way, then happy days, go for it. I don't have a problem with it. And the reason I don't have a problem with it is sometimes, you know, my strategy is ultra conservative and I do take things to the nth degree. And I'm splitting hairs here, really am. That is definitely a decisive break of the bottom of the range. So if you want to trade it, then as I say, I've got no problems. You need to switch your screen. Okay, we did that. Everyone's laughing at me. Yeah, cool. Go ahead. Go ahead. I get it. I'm a duffer. Yep. See, just can't help myself. I'm on the right screen now, I hope. Yep. Sorry, Angel. I'm not checking as often as I should at your comments. We'll have to have a hammer. You have to hit me overhead with a hammer or something like that. So there's my answer to euro dollar. It's a very, very long one, I must admit. But yeah, I totally get it. But I'm going to wait on it. Now, the other question was on, I think, was it EuroCAD? No, I can't find the question. Euro Kiwi long, I'll have a look at that in a minute. Pound yen on the day, I'll have a look at that in a minute. EuroCAD, it wills. Right, okay. Now, EuroCAD we got into last night. If you guys were in the show last night, you would be in this and you would have taken profit at that black line there. We moved our stops to entry. I'll show you what we traded first up. We traded a little false break of the high here. Now, it wasn't only the high of this range. You recall, guys, that we had an ascending triangle, right? And as I said at the time, conventional wisdom would dictate that ascending triangles, wow, sorry, that's a really ordinary one, break to the high side. It's kind of more like through there. Break to the high side. Now, my contention, as always, is, and that's very well, if it does, and we get a retest, then we can trade it long, fine. But if we then come back underneath the triangle, the top of the triangle, and retest it, as we did here, then that gives us the right to go short, which is, of course, exactly what we did do. And look, I've got high hopes for this, frankly, but the CAD's come off a bit today, which is a little bit unfortunate. It's only early days, of course, but I wouldn't like to see us get above here, because that's going to spell out, I would imagine. But whilst ever we've got those two protecting us, I think we're okay here in EuroCAD. So the question was, do I see it going long back into the range? Okay, let me put the range on there to start with. And we will use a regular rectangle. Insert what I'm looking for. I am having an absolute shocker, guys, aren't I? So you could probably start this anywhere you felt comfortable in so doing. The bottom of the range is a little more tricky. I'll probably go with that as the bottom of the range. Close, open and close, equal lows. Got that. So we are back in the range. Totally get it. What we need to see, in my opinion, is a test of the pivots. Not 100% necessary, but a close somewhere in this vicinity, and then a pullback to this exact line here, which is around about 155.78, I think is where I took profit yesterday. That's what I would like to see here, and a bar that looks something like that, or something like that, or something like that even would do, as long as it's got a black body and a long tail to the downside. Then it becomes something that I would accept as a trade. It doesn't have to be the 4-hour chart. It can be the hourly chart, can be the 30-minute chart. That's all good, but I would definitely prefer to see the pivots tested before it pulls back and gives you that higher low. Of course, that's exactly what we're looking for as range traders, right? You got it. So I like your thought process, Sino. Absolutely like it. And if it does set up that way, then why not? The greediness in me says I don't want that to happen. But you're absolutely right. We are at the bottom of a range and we're looking for higher lows. So see how you go with that. Euro dollar, we spoke about Euro CAD. Pound yen. Pound yen. I've got a pound yen chart. I haven't been trading that for ages. Doesn't look like I do. We can fix that. Righto. Pound yen. Okay, let's go to the daily and see what's going on there. Like I said earlier in the show when I was talking to myself and not having the microphone open, I consider the market to be a little bit overstretched on a lot of pairs, and this is one of them. A lot of people ask me how I measure that. It'll take me a long time to describe how I measure that, but essentially I look at the distance between the daily pivot and the weekly pivot and see if that's acceptable to the market. What do I mean by that? I mean, is this gap between the daily pivot and the weekly pivot common at that distance? And if it is, then I consider that the market's not oversold. And that looks to be the case. It doesn't mind being that far apart. Of course, eventually they come together, right? Now, what happens? How can the monthly pivot and the daily pivot come together? How can that possibly happen? How can we know that that's going to happen? How can we know when it's going to happen? Well, the simple answer is we can't know when, but what we can do is have a look at recent history, and recent history would suggest that that gap there, and you go week to week, there's no gap here, gap here, gap here. How big is the gap? 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 And how big is the gap? And is that something that is common? The current gap is what? Between daily pivot and weekly pivot is 160 odd pips. Last week, we got out to 190 pips. The week before, we got out to 450 pips. But prior to that, hang on, I'll just get rid of this. Prior to that, we haven't got much at all, have we? No gap, no gap, a little bit of a gap, a little bit of a gap. I'm not going to measure them all. Wider gap there. That's how I determine whether the market is overbought or oversold based on recent history. So recent history suggests to me that that gap there, and note that that was on a reversal. That's important. Consolidation, obviously the gap's not very wide. Phase 2 of the sell-off, not as wide as this one, most definitely. Is it slowing down? Good question. Is it oversold? I don't think so, because this is telling me that that gap is not unusual. Therefore, I'm not going to say it is oversold. All right, so that was, again, a long way around answering the question. The question was, I can't even see the question. I hate that. Something about pound yen, obviously. Is it just what am I thinking on pound yen? Why can't I see the question? It's bizarre. Oh, there it is, because in little letters, LT. Can take a look at, okay, on the daily, right, cool. So the daily chart is really saying it's overextended, isn't it? That's what it's saying. But phase 1, consolidate. Phase 2, is it going to be as big? We had 620 pips. So far, we've had 200 pips. So I'm not going to say, as I said, the daily and the weekly pivot gap tells me that this is not yet oversold. So I think this can go shorter or further short, if you like. How do we trade that? Maybe we've missed it already. Maybe. We've broken the bottom of the range, right? I think a retest of the bottom of that range does get interesting. Better still, the best way, always from my point of view, to get short is to get short off a break of resistance, a false break of resistance. So back to here, consolidate, back underneath, retest, in particular the bottom of that range, and I think it's still short. So there's my answer to the question. But the daily chart itself, is there a trade on the daily chart? Not that I can see. The only thing I can see on the daily chart is that trade line, which has been obliterated, and precious little else, to be fair. Support level, probably in there somewhere. So you've still got a little bit of room left. Yeah, I don't see any reason why you still can't expect this to continue to go short. Don't see a reason. So there you go. That's my analysis there. Any thought on Euro Kiwi long from Emmanuel? Okay, Euro Kiwi. Have I got a Euro Kiwi chart? Yep. Oh, probably a bit late for you, mate. For my answer, that is. Not necessarily. I hope I haven't made you miss anything, but let's have a look at this daily chart. We all know that the Kiwi is a sell this week, right? That's been shouted from the rooftops, not just by me, but by every person on the planet, I think. So there's a massive amount of groundswell against the Kiwi. Whether the euro's the perfect sucker that traded against is debatable, but you can probably just about pick anything. Here's what I see. The daily chart is potentially giving me that kind of thing, which probably is already a break back and a retest. On a 4-hour chart, that will look like a false break. but it hasn't really come back there yet. That doji is interesting. I will grant you that. That's, of course, a part of the announcement that was made on the Kiwi this morning, the RBA, the RBNZ statement. But it does look extremely bullish, I've got to say that. How to get in? The problem now that you've got is, because that's now broken, and I'm looking at the 4-hour chart, if you entered here, where you're going to put your stop? Underneath the bar. If you trade the bar, you've got 80 pips of risk, and you got 1-to-1 to there. So it wouldn't be the worst thing to do. If you want to buy above that bar, say a few pips above that bar, put your stop loss underneath it. I think that would be reasonable. It's not the way I trade, unless it's broken the trade line decisively. And again, going back to, pardon me, back to the one that we said before, which was euro dollar, if you remember, or if I remember, euro dollar. Remember, we were talking about decisive breaks of trade lines. To me, again, and I'm clutching at straws or splitting hairs, if you like, hasn't really broken the trade line. But it certainly has given us a bearish outlook without question, because it has broken through the support levels. I think I'm looking for a retest, and I think the same on Euro Kiwi. I'm looking for retests. But, you know, the Kiwi is under such pressure and in so much disdain that it may not come. And, you know, this could go forever, really could. Well, forever is a very long time. Sorry, that is a little bit large, yes, that I'm talking there. But yeah, look, daily chart tomorrow, if you saw that, you'd probably be thinking, okay, I've got to enter long here at some stage. But the pullback, the insurance bar, that's what I like to trade. And I'm certainly not saying this can't go long. Most definitely it can. Righto, I think I've caught up to the questions, for goodness sake. Holding on to the shorts. LT, that's on, what were we talking about with you? Pound yen. Right, cool. As I say, it looks oversold, but I don't necessarily subscribe to that. Cool. Right, am I up to date? Shukri's in the house. Shukri's on tonight, of course, guys. Not on my show, but on his own show. And if you don't know when that is, I'm sure Shukri will put it in the chat to tell you exactly when he will be strutting his stuff, his crypto stuff. Yeah, and I became a farmer today. That's right. We got me signed up in a wallet. My goodness gracious me. I find wallets very uncomfortable in my back pocket. I hope they're okay on a computer. Okay, I think I'm there. I think I've got all the questions. 7 p.m. for Shukri, right? That's 7 o'clock tonight. Be there or be square, as they say, and he'll certainly enlighten you as to how the crypto world works. And it's not what you think necessarily, because there are many, many ways to look at cryptos, and that's opened my eyes. I thought it was just kind of throwing a coin in the air and saying, oh, okay, is it going long or is it going short? It's not necessarily a trading thing. It's more of an investing thing, and I like it very much. Will we see Tron and a possible scam? Yeah, they're the ones to look out for, eh? It's not the ones that that you can rely upon. It's the ones you can't, that you've got to avoid. And yeah, it's very much similar to any form of financial investment. It's the ones that are really after your money that you've got to watch out for. Anyway, that's Shukri's thing. He'll go through all that tonight, of course, at 7 o'clock. Righto. Now, I've probably got some analysis of my own, have I? Have we been triggered the pound? No, we haven't. So that's still there. Let's go back to my my 4 currency pairs that I wanted to trade this week. Euro Aussie was one, and we were looking to trade this long, if you recall, but not that way. We were looking to trade it from a higher low to the top of the range. And then we would have looked for a short coming back. Of course, what we got was a break of the range and a retest. Now, you guys will recall, like 3 minutes ago, I was talking about decisive breaks. That's a decisive break. There's no question, because it's come from inside, deep inside, and closed deep outside. So that, to my mind, is a tradable commodity, not at the top of the bar, but, you know, get above it somewhere, 5, 10 pips, something like that. That's what you're looking for. Too dangerous to go in here, because that can happen, and that puts you psychologically at a disadvantage, because you're straight into a negative position. That's just the pits. Nobody likes that. And that's when the insurance bar becomes tradable, because you let it do that, then you can trade it here, which was probably going to be around about your entry anyway. So it's the same thing. But, you know, if you a lot of people do, they trade the top of the bar. That's not for me. But when you've got a decisive break like that of both the range and, of course, that trade line, which is not pertinent to a 4 hour, it's an hourly trade line, but you can see the result. So those dominant breaks are particularly tradable. Actually, in my strategy group, we haven't really covered those off yet. We'll do that probably in next week's session. So that's off and away, Euro Aussie, and I missed the entry. Not that there was one for me, but that's probably a very, very nice bar. That may well have cost you, however. And of course, that's Monday morning, and I don't do Monday mornings. Monday mornings aren't me. So there really was no way into that for me, although my bias suggested that was going to be the case, at least to here. So that one's gone. I doubt that I'll be trading that anytime soon. EuroCAD was the next. We were looking for that ascending triangle, as we pointed out to you earlier. And also got not only the ascending triangle, but the rectangular range, which just smashed through that. But we managed to pick that up here. And again, there are many, many ways to skin a cat, of course. But that combination of a rectangle and ascending triangle, I'll see if I can put it in for you in a far more structured fashion. That'll be the top. That'll be the bottom. And that'll be roughly where the top of our triangle is, roughly. So when you've got what I'll call that a multi-structure, if you like, for want of a better expression, it really does add spice to the setups. When I say spice, I mean it adds weight to it. So you've got more than one thing. You've got more than one layer, and because this didn't really go back to the top of the range there, it takes away the question mark. Should I trade it? Shouldn't I trade it? Because you've then got something to back you up. You've got a trade line coming through here. You've got the top of the triangle. So you've got a false break of that. You've got a false break of the trend line. You've got a false break of the rectangle as well. You know, if you're not trading that, then something's wrong, because there's too much information there to ignore. Simple as that. TP1. Oh, okay. Yeah, let me explain that. All right, that's a good one, Shukri. Thank you. What I chose to do here was instead of taking any money off the table at TP1, which was 11 pips below our entry, I was protecting the potential bounce off the weekly pivot, but I didn't want to take anything off the table there, because the real profit was going to be either here or here, and that's obviously at this point turned out to be true. So what we did is, as soon as we hit the weekly pivot or just above it, we moved our stops to entry, and therefore made more money on the trade than we would have had we taken some money off the table there. Now, there are always multiple ways to manage your money, right, when you're trading. That is my aggressive way to trade my strategy. Two ways to trade my strategy. One's conservative, one's aggressive. The conservative method is always to take money off the table and move your stops to safety. The aggressive way is to do exactly as I did yesterday. Don't take any money off the table, but move your stops to entry. Worst thing that can happen is you don't win anything, but you certainly don't lose anything. And the reward comes because you haven't taken anything off the table. And this was more than 1-to-1 because we only traded this bar here. So TP1 was more than 1-to-1. If you wanted to take TP2 here, maybe you have, then you've probably got a reasonable amount out of that trade. I don't think it's over. I think we've got strong potential here to go visit the top of this descending channel again. And if we're really fortunate, then we'll break this low as well and maybe challenge these areas here, these highs here around about the 153.80 mark, something like that. So there's another 200 pips available here, I believe, without too much effort. We shall see. Of course, I've been saying that about EuroCAD for some time. And once we get to there, we're then thinking Batman mask. See his ears there and the top of his brow. I've been saying for some time, if this really gets a move on, then we could find ourselves down here at 144, which would be pretty cool, given that we've taken on this trade a 30 pip risk to gain, and I'm not saying we're going there without pullback, guys. That's just silly. But 30 pips to get 1,200 suddenly becomes interesting, doesn't it? And this is the 7th time we've traded this. And the reason I keep trading it is because of that particular scenario. If I saw the target here, I probably wouldn't be so keen to keep trading it. But I'm so keen to keep trading it because of that potential reward that I will continue to do so. My bias in EuroCAD is short, yours is long. And look, mate, that's perfectly fine. You know, there are many, many ways to make money in trading currencies and any market. It's not about getting the direction right per se. It's about your timing, and it's about what you see in front of you. So if you see a long position in front of you, then absolutely take it. And it could go to here. My double top's still in play, and I can get into the market here, and it can still go down to there. Or vice versa, you can come back to a support level. You can find your long entry here, and you can go to heaven. There's so many ways that the market can help you out, and you can make money from it. It doesn't mean that one of us is actually wrong. We may both be right. We'll look into it soon. What are we looking into? Oh, okay. Sorry. I will look into it. So, yep. Thank you, Angel. Sorry, I'm catching up. I told you I'm having an absolute shocker, aren't I? So yes, I know. Don't be. I was going to say misled. It's not the word. The word is don't be disturbed. That's not the word either. Discouraged. Don't be discouraged by anybody. It doesn't matter who it is. If it's Warren Buffett, don't be discouraged by whatever Warren Buffett says. If it's against your methodology or your analysis, that's foolish, because how are you ever going to learn? How are you ever going to learn if you don't put your money where your mouth is, or at least back your judgment? And it doesn't have to be money. Just back your judgment, because you may get it right well before he does, or well before I do. It's really, really that simple. Everything is perspective and timing. It's really got a lot to do with that, rather than me predicting what something's going to do. I try not to do that. I try to say, okay, this has happened, so therefore the cause of that may produce this effect. And that's all I'm trying to do. May produce, not will produce. And that's why I like to trade insurance bars, because I've got no idea if I'm right or wrong until it happens. Believe me, I've got no idea if I'm right or wrong until it actually happens. I've got a bias and I've got reason to take a trade. And that's all that matters. Well, I want more than one reason, mind you. I want lots of reasons. I want layers of reason to take a trade, not just one. But yeah, look, I'll take on, seriously, I'll take on Warren Buffett any day of the week. If I've got an opinion, I'll take on anybody you like. Don't care who they are. If I've got an opinion and I can back it up, then I'll back myself. Absolutely. The cup is already there, just waiting for the handle to form. Oh, okay. You're a cup and handle man. Yeah, gotcha. Okay. I've never traded cup and handle. I know they exist. Did they exist at the bottom of a run? Or is that what you're saying? This is the bottom of the run, broken out of the, yeah, okay. I get it all. I get it all. The one thing I would say is how, or the question I would ask is, how far are you prepared to trade it? That would be my question. And the reason I ask that question is because if I can actually get there, is because I see the top of a range here as well as everything else. Are you prepared to trade through the top of the range? So, and again, it doesn't really matter if you do. What matters to me is that you've calculated it, or you've taken that into calculation and managed to, or put a management strategy in place that would say to, and to me, this is the way I trade, right? I would have to be in profit and safe in the market before I hit that level. That's the way I trade. And to me, to trade from a longevity point of view, that's the only way I can do it. Because if I took risk going through here and suddenly it bounced and went through here, and all of that money that I'd could have put some in the bank on has gone away from me, I'd kick myself in the bum and say, you're an idiot. So that's just me. That's the way I do it, right? So you go up to the brim of the cup. Okay. I'm assuming that's the cup there, but I could be wrong, but I don't see it any other way. That's got to be the brim of the cup, yeah? And that's the handle. Is that what we're talking about? So therefore, you're actually trading the range, the top of the range. You're going from the bottom of the range to the top of the range, as I see it. How would I argue against that? Couldn't. No possible argument could I have against that. And that's the thing. If you've got a system and if you've got a belief and you've got a directional bias and you've got a reason to have that, you've got to back yourself. Don't care what anybody says. So you take that on board, guys. Look, the reason I know this is because I've done it so many times. When I was in a webinar, well, how long ago? 10 years ago, when I started going into webinars, and I finished up working for that company, right? The reason that I started working for that company is I disagreed with the mentor so many times and got it right so many times that they had to investigate me and see what my system was. So don't think for 1 second that whoever your mentor is or whoever the person is that's speaking and has an opinion, just because it's different to yours doesn't make it right. And that goes for life as well. That's actually one of my credos. Just because you have a differing opinion does not mean you are wrong. Simple, simple, simple. 159.72. Oh, that's a big brim. Hang on a minute. I've obviously got the wrong picture here. Is that on a daily chart, Sino? What chart are you looking at? Ah, the cup. Got it. The cup here. Right. And the handle. Now I'm awake. I'm awake now. All good. So it's not a Batman mask after. Is that why it's got a funny ear? Because it's a cup and a handle. You could well be on the money here, mate. My only thought again comes back to the cup and handles work at the top of rallies. But I can see it there anyway. I can see it on the daily. I thought they happened at the bottom of rallies. But hey, don't listen to me for 1 second. No wonder Batman didn't. Well, he hasn't happened yet. He hasn't happened yet. 159.72. So it's pretty much up here, up just at these highs. That's the brim there, right? That's the brim. My cup runneth over if we go out of there. Don't start me on those. Mate, I reckon your analysis is absolutely spot on if you like trading cup and handles. So I don't have a problem with it. And as I said, you're actually trading back to the top of a range here. It's the same thing at the end of the day. And if it happens, then Batman becomes a three-eared monster. And I still want to trade him short. Yep. Absolutely true. It can be any screen. But yeah, the weekly looks good. The daily looks equally good to me. But it's a bloody big cup over here on the daily. Guys, I'm going to quickly have a look and see if the pound is triggered. It has not. We're getting a couple of inside bars there. Can 3 become 4 Indians? That's a good question. That's a very good question. 1 little, 2 little, 3 little Indians. Bang, bang, bang. Pretty, eh? Pretty. That's the pound. So there's no entry there on the pound. How's Euro CAD going? Yeah, look, I'm confident here that we'll get something more. But maybe we have to trade this long first. I don't know. We will see. Euro pound. Yeah, okay, Euro pound. We wanted to have a good look at that, didn't we? We traded this long yesterday and got into a TP1 very quickly and then got pummeled with that news event. Looks like it wants to go long, doesn't it? Again, this to me is a potential temporary solution to an itch that these people have got to go this route up to the 93 mark maybe. I'll certainly be looking for shorts in that area or shorts anytime I see a break. So break, come back above, back below, retest, then I'll be looking to go short on Euro pound. Missed Kiwi dollar. That's a bit of a shame. As I said before, yesterday, the break and retest was interesting, but no daily pivot test. You've just got to have faith at that point, and faith is not enough for me to trade. So no go for me. Are we still in dollar yen? Yes, we are, barely, but still there. This was a bad one. Bad mistake by me. I should have stayed in this, obviously, at this point. I closed at -5 pips. I hope you guys didn't and are still in it. I hope that's the case. And if it is, best of British to you. I hope it goes to hell in a handbasket. Swiss EM we're still in, struggling to get through this level, but it may well be through it and we could be going okay. Euro yen, you guys should still be in that. Same story. Are we at the end? I think so. I don't think I'm anything else that you guys would be aware of. No. Okay. So I'm going to call it quits, guys. My sincere apologies for the technical and human errors, one of which was caused by me, the other of which is just one of those things that happens. I'll get it right tomorrow, promise. promise. Don't make promises you can't keep, Jeff. Right, okay. Thank you to Chloe for being here. Angel, I'm sorry I gave you a terrible time today. You've been struggling to get hold of me, and I don't know, I'm just somewhere else, clearly. Maybe it's good that I'm not in a position to be trading, because I'll be trading some bad ones. I think we shall see. A bit later on, I'll shake myself, go and have a shower and have some dinner, and then we'll come back with a little bit more effervescence and clarity. Let's put it that way. Thank you, guys. We'll catch up with you at what, 8:30? Yep, 8:30. I'll pop in and say good day to Chloe and Big O, and of course the Big O will join me at 8:30 and onward into the US session. He's going to talk tonight a little bit more about what he was talking, I think, with Shukri and Ash about, and they were levels on cryptos. I'm sure Shukri will prompt me about that in the show later on. And of course, Shukri is on at 7 o'clock. So my goodness me, how are you blokes ever going to get any rest? I don't know. Have a great rest of hump day, guys, and hopefully we'll catch up with you a little bit down the track. Bye-bye for now.